Good morning and welcome to Memorial Day celebration here in the beautiful city of Vallejo. I'm Steve Paganelli, Commander of the Mare Island-based Submarine Veterans Group, a part of the United States Submarine Veterans Incorporated. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us here today and all our special guests. We have our beautiful mayors over here, Angela Source. We have Bill Fresnel. He is going to be our guest speaker today. Also, submarine veteran. Over here we have Staff Sergeant Alicia Cancel, who is going to be our singer today, and Chaplain Mike Brown of the he's also chaplain for the police force, which is very wonderful. And in some place we have Dennis, and he's on his bugle someplace behind me, I believe.
Back there.
Would you all please stand for the opening invocation by Chaplain Brown?
Thank you, and I'm very honored to be here. Let's pray. Dear Almighty God, today we ask that you watch and hear what we say about our fellow soldiers or sailors. Please comfort those in attendance, the speakers, and the ones who do not attend this ceremony. I thank you for each blessing that has been given graciously to everyone. And please let your presence here today offer hope and encouragement to us. In your name, amen.
Would you please remain standing while we present the colors? McCain Sea Cadets, would you please post the colors?
Broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Would you all please be seated? Some information about our mayor. Angela Soares became mayor of Vallejo January of this year. She is a tenured professor in economics at Diablo Valley College. She chairs the economics department and coordinates DVC Zero Textbook Cost Program. She's a co-founder of the Solano County ACLU chapter, serves as chair of the Vallejo's Surveillance Advisory Board, and volunteered locally with asylum seekers, youth, and survivors of domestic violence. Her grandfather served in the U.S. Navy during World War II aboard the USS LST-283, which took part in the D-Day landings in Normandy. She is committed to preserving and honoring the Vallejo diversity and the rich naval history, and ensuring that opportunities for upward mobility are available for all. Originally from North Carolina, she earned a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and a master's in public administration from the University of Harvard on a public service fellowship. She met her husband Slater while serving in the Peace Corps as economic development specialist in Honduras and El Salvador. Mayor Soares.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction, and I want to take another moment to thank everyone for being here, the groups that put together this event, everyone in attendance, and especially our veterans and their families who are able to join us this morning. On Memorial Day, our task is to honor and remember those who served but did not make it home. And as it was mentioned in the bio, when both Memorial Day and Veterans Day come, I do reflect on my grandfather's service. And one of the things that his ship did in World War II was it took part in Normandy landings and had to bring back bodies of those who didn't make it. And when, thinking about my own service now, or looking out at some of the grave sites at some of our cemeteries here in Vallejo, and seeing some of the folks who were taken from us so young and who made that ultimate sacrifice, I can't help but think about now the responsibility that I have to use the opportunity that I've been granted through my grandfather's service and through what he was able to do after his service, and my responsibility to honor those who weren't able to come back and give, and just we would not be here without them. Particularly as I mentioned this morning at the beautiful event on Mare Island, we are so fortunate here. We have the honor in Vallejo of being part of just a rich naval city with rich history, and the first naval base on the West Coast, and the first cemetery over on Mare Island. And I just can think of no better place for us to do that remembrance and to come together, again, as I mentioned this morning, in not just honoring those whose lives were lost, but truly taking the time to feel that sense of responsibility and do the work to ensure that we're protecting and preserving the freedoms that our ancestors fought for and many died for. Making sure that civil rights and civil liberties are protected, making sure that our democracy is strong, and that people really can truly live free. And it's important this year more than ever. So thank you again to everyone who is here. We've got many elected officials who I think some are going to be coming up to speak. This is just such a beautiful moment for us to come together and honor those fallen heroes who didn't make it home and weren't able to then come back and contribute. And it's our chance now to really do right by them and their service and the values that our nation stands for. So thank you all again for being here.
Good afternoon. My name is Mel. I'm with Congressman John Garamendi, and he regrets that he couldn't be here today, but he asked me to read this letter on his behalf. On Memorial Day, I always know that I'll be surrounded by heroes. Looking at this crowd, I see service members and veterans who answer the call to serve. I see military families whose sons and daughters went into harm's way out of a sense of duty, honor, and love of country. I see patriots, Americans who feel humbled and blessed to live in the greatest nation on earth. Memorial Day is a day of mixed emotions. It is a solemn occasion to remember the heroes who never returned home. And it's also a day to celebrate the achievements of the heroes among us, those who have served and continue to serve. It is a day to reflect on what it means to be a free people and all the sacrifices and struggles it took to get here. Congressman Garamendi is also the son of a World War II major, and today we remember his father's service and the service of millions of Americans in the greatest generation who helped secure our freedom. We also honor the 41 million Americans who have served in the U.S. military since World War II, including younger generations who have sacrificed immensely in Iraq and Afghanistan. In those 2 years alone, more than 6,800 brave men and women in uniform lost their lives. Over 50,000 were wounded, many with serious injuries, disfigurements, and lasting trauma. Behind those numbers are 57,000 individual stories, stories of unheralded courage, selfless devotion, sleepless nights, and terrifying days, stories of love lost and found, of dreams, of families, of communities, of friendships, and of hope. They were men and women, human beings with all that entails, placed in dangerous situations that most of us can only scarcely imagine. So let's take a moment of silence to honor and remember our fallen heroes. Those who have experienced war know it should always be a last resort. We must never hastily commit our troops to combat because they are, you are, America's bravest sons and daughters, mothers and fathers. The cost of war does not end when the last troops come home. The pain of war lingers for generations. We owe our wounded warriors a debt that we can never really fully repay, but it is a debt we must strive to honor each and every single day. That means giving service members every tool they need to stay safe. It means funding the medical research necessary to treat combat injuries. It means reducing the VA backlog and ensuring timely, quality care. Your service humbles us. Your grace under fire inspires us. This Memorial Day and every Memorial Day, we will do everything in my power to make sure our veterans and their families are taken care of. They more than deserve it. We live in difficult times, but they'll never be tougher than the brave men and women who wear the uniform of the United States of America with pride. Thank you for having me here today, and thank you for your love of your country. Thank you.
Before I ask the Senator to come up, June 14th, 2025 marks the official 250th anniversary of the United States military. Since its official establishment, June 14th, 1775, more than a year before the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Army had played a vital role in the growth and development of the American nation, drawing on both long-standing militia traditions and recently introduced professional standards. It won the new Republic independence, United States Coast Guard. Can't go without them. Drawing on both long-standing standards of militia traditions and recently introduced professional standards, it won the new Republic independence in an arduous 8-year struggle against Great Britain. At times, the Army provided the long symbol of nationhood around which patriots rallied. Then on October 13, 1775, the Congress officially announced the first American naval force. Since our fight for freedom started in 1775, we have lost over 1,305,000 men and women in the United States military that have paid the ultimate price for the freedom of this country. Senator Christopher.
Thank you for being here today. I'm Senator Christopher Cabaldon, and I represent Vallejo, Solano County, and 5 other counties in the California State Senate. Memorial Day is in so many ways a letter from the past to today. It is a letter that tells us why we are here, why we made it this far, why we have survived, why we have thrived, where our freedom and our liberty comes from. And it is important now more than ever that we each Memorial Day open that letter and read every word of it. Sure, some of us may go off to a barbecue. We might have the day off from work. But more than any other holiday, Memorial Day is what our entire democracy, our entire republic is based upon. Now, we are often fond of describing Memorial Day in very lofty terms, that it is about the fallen, and it most certainly is. It is about the ultimate sacrifice, which it absolutely is. But we have to remember that Memorial Day, although hatched at the end of the Civil War, took on renewed meaning during all of the conflicts of the 20th century and since. And that so many Americans, virtually every American, lost someone, or they came home having lost someone, but not simply lost. They knew the stories. They knew the stories of their neighbor down the street who ripped in half in a conflict. They knew the stories of their own comrades killed by shrapnel. They knew the stories of hostage taking. They knew the hopes, but they also knew the terror and the fear. And so, rather than talk about it that way as a country, we instead talked about it in abstract terms. We talked about the fallen and the ultimate sacrifice, and not the pain, not the terror, not the abject fear, not the vicious violence of war. And so, this letter from the past is a letter to a generation that may not understand the depth of the sacrifice that our soldiers and our sailors have made in conflict after conflict after conflict. This is not a video game that you can simply start back over again. The lives of those who signed up to defend the country, defend our values, both at home and around the world, are worth so much more than that. We know that here in Solano County. Solano County residents, Solano County visitors, our temporary residents at bases and at Mare Island, help to build the air and sea power of this country, to defend ourselves, first against the South, and then against Nazis, against Russia, the Soviet Union, and in conflict after conflict to defend our values. Without Travis, without Mare Island, the United States would not have prevailed in so many of these conflicts, and our values would be at risk. And so the question that's before us here in Solano County today and across the entire country as we observe Memorial Day is, will we continue to be a country worthy of their sacrifice? That is, we repeat not only their names, but their stories. Their stories, their hopes, their families lost. That will we be worthy? Will the next generation who's thinking about signing up, like the cadets that led us at the presentation of colors this morning, will they know that we will be with them as the folks whose names are listed on behind me were with each one of us? And so please, Memorial Day, more than President's Day or Arbor Day or Flag Day or any other day that we observe as a holiday in this country, this is the most important one. But before the celebration, before the barbecue, we must each inhabit, we must live in the discomfort of knowing the pain and the terror and the true sacrifices that these heroes engaged on our behalf. Thank you so much for being part of those that are keeping the flame alive, that are keeping the memory not just alive, but empowering the future of our country together. Without sacrifice, without standing up for our republic, for our democracy, for our Constitution, and for each other, America does not exist. And it exists today only because those who have given of themselves, of their lives, and of their communities, let us honor their name, their stories, and live and build an America that they would be proud of. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Before I have our guest speaker, Commander William Furnell, come up. Commander William Furnell graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis in 1959. His first assignment was on the destroyer USS Wetak DD-848. After submarine school in 1961 and earning his submarine warfare insignia, his Dolphins, qualifying in submarines, he became the USS Trout weapons officer. Then after nuclear power school, he was assigned to USS von Steuben, SSBN 632, a ballistic missile submarine. Then to the USS Nathaniel Greene, SSBN 636, as the engineering officer. After serving as a submarine squadron engineer, he attended the U.S. Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey. Then to Mare Island to serve on the USS Halibut, SSGN 587, a guided missile submarine that had been converted to top secret special operations. As its executive officer for 3 years, he was then the commanding officer of the USS Bluefin, SSN 675, from September 75 to April 1979. He then served 18 months as the tactical deployment officer of the Submarine Force Atlantic. He retired with the rank of Commander 05 in 1980. Commander William Furnell.
Thank you. After 3 great speeches, there's not much left. But I'll find something. I don't want to distract from what's been said, but I have a theme this year that I think we need to know more about how we came to a Memorial Day. As has been said, it's not just to honor and mourn those who've been lost, but also to show the promise for the future and our defending that liberty we've gained. I think that it's also symbolized when you look at the special flag protocol for Memorial Day. Every other day where the flag is held at half-staff is all day, but not Memorial Day. At noon, the flag goes back to full staff, representing the promise of the future and our dedication to it. In addition to the information in the program, which the mayors proclaimed the covered bases in a literal term, and the submarine veterans have an adequate attention to the submarine losses and achievements in World War II. There are a couple that I'd like to bring forth to bring to your attention. One is, it doesn't require combat to lose a serviceman, although those are the ones that get the attention. I'd like to remember in April 1963, the USS Thresher submarine was lost with 129 people on board, the crew and some civilian from the shipyard. 5 years later, 1968, the USS Scorpion did not return from their deployment. 99 crew members were lost, and it took a while to find where she went down. Those are more Gold Star families. And then one personal one. In November 1973, the USS Plunger was completing an overhaul here at Mare Island. And on their way out on their sea trials, as they got outside the Golden Gate, the commanding officer was washed overboard. His body was never recovered. It's a story about how that can happen. He happened to be a classmate of mine, a shipmate of mine, and my best friend. So when he was lost, I had the opportunity to go back and attend his memorial service in Illinois and try to explain to his father, while drinking his elderberry wine, how his son could be lost. We do remember that. In fact, there's a building on Mare Island named for him. Anybody know about that? The nurses' quarters for the hospital that was here was built as a very picturesque building and was renamed Wilderman Hall for Alvin Ladon Wilderman. When we get past these losses that are so immediate and so important to recognize, we tend to forget, where did Memorial Day come from? Actually, it was started as Decoration Day. And after the Civil War, when, as an aside, 620,000 people, warriors, servicemen were killed on both sides. And that's a tremendous number. Total population of the United States then was about 30 million. And about 8 million of those were black enslaved persons. So to lose over 600,000, basically, young men, is an awful impact. But at the end of the war, Civil War, there was a group, organizations, individuals, cities that took it upon themselves to follow an existing tradition and decorate the graves with flowers. That was done north and south, both sides, and gradually grew. The Grand Army of the Republic, which was composed of veterans from the Civil War who became politically active and did a lot of action. General John Blackjack Logan declared May 30th as Decoration Day. Why did he pick 30? Nobody knows. Some say it's because the flowers would be plentiful then. Others because there may not have been a battle on that day. But that was the first national observation, and that came in 1868, 3 years after the war. And it gradually grew through the states. New York was the first, and then by 1890, every state celebrated Decoration Day as a state holiday in addition to the national. So that was the beginning. Congress in 1968 moved 4 holidays to a Monday, and Decoration Day went that way. They became the last Monday in May. That's so federal workers could have 3-day weekends. It wasn't until 1971 that Congress decided it really was Memorial Day, and that's what we celebrate today. I would like to mention I did some research to try to say something meaningful. I don't always succeed. But one of the first, I think the first, celebration of Memorial Day, then Decoration Day, occurred before the Civil War was over. In 1865 early, the Union armies took over Charleston, South Carolina. The city was pretty much destroyed. The army came in. What they found was, for the last year of the war in Charleston, they had established a prisoner camp. The prisoner camp was at a racetrack, the Washington Race Course and Jockey Club. And they established it as a camp. But within a year, 257 Union soldiers died at that camp. Disease, injuries, whatever, but great neglect. So when the city was freed, the people decided to celebrate those soldiers. The majority of the folks were recently freed, black population, and about middle of April, black former slaves and workmen dug up 257 bodies and reburied them in a cemetery at the race course. And on May 1st, 10,000 citizens gathered, marched, sang, 2,000 school children singing John Brown's Body, but strewing flowers still on all the graves, till it was like one just big garden of roses. I think it's important for us to recognize that those that were freed thanked those who were responsible for freeing them, and they did it with a lot of work. Unfortunately, this may be due to Charleston, the graves were neglected. The workmen had erected a fence around it with an arch, two brick fence posts. On the arch it said, "Martyrs to the race course." The cemetery fell into lack of respect, and 5 years later, the government exhumed all 257 men and moved them to a national cemetery in Beaufort, South Carolina. I just think it's remarkable that is the level of appreciation that we would be wanting to match. So, thank you very much. I thank you for being here. God bless you. God bless America. And God continue to look over our Gold Star families. Thank you.
We will now conduct the tolling of the boat ceremony. For those here today who are not familiar with the submarines and submariners, I'd like to offer an explanation of the ceremony you're about to witness. Since the birth of the underwater Navy in 1900, many sacrifices, loss of life, and universal dedication to duty has made our volunteer service what it is today. These accomplishments did not come easy or without can-do spirit possessed by those who earn the coveted dolphin insignia with pride and dignity. The United States veterans of World War II originally established the tolling of the boat ceremony. It is a unique and time-honored memorial service in keeping with the finest traditions of the Navy. Custom has established that the ceremony be formal, and it honors the memory of those submariners who have lost their lives in the line of duty, especially the majority who perished during World War II. In the ceremony, the names of each of the U.S. submarines lost with the fate of their crew will be read aloud as the ship's bell is tolled in each turn. We will not read the whole list of 52 submarines today, just the boats lost in the month of May. The tolling of the bell reminds us of the debt and gratitude we owe to both our departed shipmates and to those who in active service who guard our country while silently serving under the sea. In many ways, the tolling of the boat ceremony formally reaffirms to the serving naval submarine personnel that our current deeds and sacrifice follow in their footsteps of those submariners who preceded them. It is true that the sea has always taken its toll of seamen. It is especially true with submariners. Over the years, almost 4,000 young men have lost their lives in service to our country, the United States Submarine Force. In all total, 65 U.S. submarines have been lost during war and peace. In our participation, we remember those gallant submariners who made the supreme sacrifice while performing their duties with honor and integrity and courage. And we demonstrate to our families and to the youth by our deeds we honor them. We pay tribute to them, we salute them, we shall always criticize them as a great nation. I will now call Gary Peterson, who is our Vice Commander. He will be reading the names of the boats.
USS Squalus, SS-192, lost on 23 May 1939 due to a catastrophic hull valve failure. 26 crew members were lost, 33 rescued after it flooded and sank in 250 feet of water off of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. USS Lagardo, SS-371, lost on 4 May 1945 with the loss of 88 crew when it was sunk off the Malay coast or in or near the Gulf of Siam by a Japanese mine layer. USS Stickleback, SS-415, lost on 30 May 1958 when it sank off Hawaii while being towed after a collision with USS Silverstein, DE-534. All crew were taken off prior to it sinking. USS Scorpion, SSN-589, lost on 27 May 1968 with a loss of 99 crew when it was sunk while in transit from the Mediterranean Sea about 400 miles west of the Azores. And one extra bell for our departed shipmates still on patrol.
We now have the unveiling of two new plaques for Medal of Honor recipients and World War I veterans, Nestor Aguiga and Joe Nicholson.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nestor Aliga. Thank you, U.S. Submarine veterans, for giving me and Joe Nicholson 5 minutes to help unveil these two new plaques. We are thankful to everyone here for dedicating these granite plaques, which are etched with the names of our heroes whose courage, sacrifice, and commitment to duty, honor, and country help shape the legacy of Vallejo for our grateful nation. Before I get emotional, let me now introduce you to Joe Nicholson, who promised to speak for 4 minutes. Joe is a decorated U.S. Army veteran who served over 2 years, boots on the ground, in the Korean War. For his valiant service, Joe was awarded many decorations, including the Bronze Star Medal with the V device, which is the 4th highest military decoration for valor. Joe and his sons, Jules and Joel, mostly financed and volunteered to install these plaques. So, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Nicholson.
still good morning, isn't it? I really want to thank everybody for being here for this very, very important day. It's people that work hard to keep the system going. When you're in war, you don't think about what can happen to you. There's always fear there that something can happen, but you overpower it by the effort to look for the rewards for your country. And that pulls you through, believe me. I've been there a lot of times wondering, how long can I be on the front line? I was on the front line for 2 complete services and drafted when I was an orthopedic surgeon working at Pill Hill in Oakland, California. I was the orthopedic surgeon, and I was known as a prosthesist. A prosthesist is a person that handles a live body, and that's where you get your license to become a prosthesist, and that puts you into this rank of an orthopedic surgeon. And I was working in the hospitals at Providence, at Peralta, Fabiola, and all the leading hospitals, assisting surgeons. Surgeons are surgeons. They do surgery. An orthopedic surgeon puts the parts in the live body, and so you get the honor of being in control of the complete operating room, which is an opener and a closer of doctors, about 4 nurses, anesthesiasts to keep the patient alive, and you put in your parts that you make. And in those days, a broken hip was not being able to be fixed unless you could put something on it to insure it. And I'm one of the first people that started making these plates for the largest bone in your body, which is the pelvis. And I brought orthopedics into the medical industry for the United States of America, right down on 31st and Telegraph in Oakland. Thank you for that. Does my heart good to know how many people I gave them a good, regular life with their broken hip, so they could go out and work normally without any problems at all. They were, in those days, they were like a light aluminum plaque that I saw the patient before in my office down at 31st and Telegraph, and I was only about 18 years old, and I'd take him into my plant, and I saw more nude bodies when I was 18 years old. I never wanted to see another one again. But with a bucket of plaster in one hand, it's going to get hard in a few minutes, and trying to get the boobs up there and get the right fitting and whatnot, you have to be a magician. And you dealt with ladies that were very older people. I had a coarse interior lady that we did things for breasts and everything. So I know the medical field like nobody else does. And I'm one of the people that helped put it ahead. But anyway, I'm here today not to talk too long, not to get into my personal life. I just want to say that Nestor Aliga, wonderful man, wonderful man. He might act a little nervous. He might really not be himself because he's really got some emotionals going now. He has a new grandson and really tore him apart to love that child. And I just admire him for that. So anyway, I have a speech written out here, and I'm not even going to look at it because I promised I'd only talk a few minutes, because for the honor of the sub-vets, I'm one that put the plaque on the torpedo. I put a lot of these plaques here made it happen, and I do not want anything ever to happen to this park here and be taken away from the veterans. And we'll be working on that as I live. I'm 95 years old as I speak. I'm not following the script that I have here in extra big letters because but I will say it says here, America's heroes for their conspicuous gallantry and duty is a reminder that we must always remember our national heroes. They remind us that courage is not the absence of fear, but is the triumph over fear. Thank you, son. That's my son. That's my first baby son. He's over 60 years old. That's Jules. He's one of the people that helped me put the plaques up here and helped me haul them around and drill them and move them around. I made just about every plaque on that wall there. And it's an art that has been almost disposed of, that nobody does anymore. However, my compadres will do anything I ask them to because they know what the sincerity is of engraving and making all these plaques notable to the public. It's something to carry on. I hope to make it to 100 so I can finish my future achievements. And for people like you, people that understand me, I know a lot of people, let me tell you. There's so many great people here. There's one sitting over there nodding his head yes. You know you're a good person. You know that. I know so many wonderful people. We have the cream of the crop here in Vallejo. And we're going to keep going and keep going. And I'm a very inquisitive person. I know a lot about Mare Island, and we do have some things that are coming up that will be published in the Vallejo Times Herald, and I want you people to read the articles that I'm going to write because they are very, very important to our future. And I want to thank you, everybody, for listening to me, and I don't want to get the sub-vets mad at me because they'll never let me have the mic again. But and this gentleman here, with the memory that he has, I'm going to ask him what kind of pills he takes to keep such a memory going. But what a fantastic oration he had. I think it was overwhelming, whatever he said. He didn't look at the notes one time and had the dates down pat. Is that an achievement? He's a wonderful man. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to sign off by saying thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and best of all, God bless America and the United States. Thank you.
Would you all please stand again, remain standing. We're going to have the laying of the wreath. It's going to be Mayor and our guest speaker come in for now.
seeing as the flyover was early, I can extend my talk here. There is one very important group of people that I always want to point out at ceremonies like this, and this is the moms, the wives, the fathers, the children, because even though they lost a loved one, they have to keep on living, and they have to go through. And so I just want to hand out a round of cheer for the wives, the moms, the fathers, the children. May the Lord our God bless us all that are present here to memorialize those who have lived and died to preserve liberty and freedom in our nation. And may the Lord our God remember all those who sacrificed, gave this nation its greatness, its progress, and riches. May our memory and all of those who served in the silent service be an honorable one, the one full of thanksgiving to the Lord. Be with us, Lord. Be with us all, and provide us with traveling mercy as we return to our homes. Amen.
I'd like to thank everybody that came here today, especially our special guest, our mayor, and all our senators and speakers. Thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it. That concludes our service for today. Thank you very much.